Hello again, everybody. Welcome to Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips with Gamecock great Joe Rhett talking men's basketball. Joe, a sinking feeling for a lot of Gamecock fans right now with the Gamecocks having lost 3 of their last 4. We recorded a podcast here on GCR a couple weeks ago. The Gamecocks were alone in first place in the SEC, and after losing 3 out of 4, now the Gamecocks are 2 games in back of both Florida and Kentucky. And to make matters worse, Joe, the Gamecocks play at Florida tomorrow night, a Tuesday night game, 7 o'clock ball game on ESPN in Gainesville. So, Joe, South Carolina coming off this loss to Vanderbilt. We talked about it on Friday. It was a potentially a scary game for South Carolina. And, I thought the Gamecocks played pretty well for about 3 quarters of the ball game, Joe, but then Vanderbilt closed on a 24-9 run. They ended the game on a 24-9 run and put South Carolina away at the end.
Again, don't want to make excuses for this team, but when teams make runs like that, of course they were at home. Again, not making excuses, but I think the legs are gone. When you miss a free throws, I think we only shot like 13 for 22, 59% on free throws in that game. And when you go on the road, you have to make free throws, and you have to buckle down on defense and what you need to. You really have to execute that on the road to pull out a victory, especially against a really good Vanderbilt team. That team shot the lights out of the ball. For some reason lately, a lot of teams are shooting the ball extremely well against us. But we just don't have to buckle down and maybe go back to our basics, go back to the fundamentals or something and get this thing resurged, get this thing going again for us.
Vandy hit 9 threes in the ball game Saturday night in Nashville. They shot 9 of 25 from distance. The Gamecocks were just 1 of 9 from three-point land on Saturday, and P.J. Dozier hit the only 3 of the game. I think South Carolina missed their first 8 3-point shots, and Dozier finally hit one late in the ball game. And, Joe, Frank Martin was asked after the game, why South Carolina didn't put up more threes, and he said very frankly, did you see how we shot it? He said they'd missed 8 in a row, and he said maybe they took too many. 1 of 9 from 3, Joe. That's not going to get it done.
That's not a typical South Carolina team. We've been bread and butter a lot the past couple of years with Dwayne Notice, TJ, and Senderis has been shooting threes, and for some reason we're not making them. A lot of that has to do with legs, the energy. Just don't have the legs to shoot it right now. Not making an excuse, but we got to shoot more than 9 threes. For one, in this game of basketball, any sport, it's all about confidence. And you see it in these players' faces right now. They just don't have the confidence. I wish this whole team had the confidence of Senderis right now. We'll be a much better team. We need PJ. We need Dwayne Notice. We need Justin Mackey off the bench in order for this team to finish these next 4 games out and go to the SEC tournament. We need those guys. We've been preaching that all year. We definitely need these guys to step up. And Senderis can't do it by himself. But tough game tomorrow night. Tough loss. We got to put that behind us and focus on the game tomorrow night against Florida.
All right, the Gamecocks led Vandy by 3 at halftime Saturday night, but Vandy outscored South Carolina 44-32 in the second half, 71-62 the final Saturday night. Vanderbilt now just 14-13 on the year, but they are 7-7 in league play. Vandy playing better ball in the last month or so, and an important home win for them over a ranked South Carolina team. Of course, the Gamecocks were ranked at the time, but the Gamecocks now have fallen out of the AP poll. The new poll out today. South Carolina dropped out thanks to last week's 0-2 week. The Gamecocks are 20-7 overall, 10-4 in the SEC. Let me give you the individual numbers from Saturday night. Thornwell led all scorers for the 4th straight game. He had 21 points on 6 of 15 shooting. He made all 9 of his foul shots, 6 rebounds, and 33 minutes of action for Thornwell. Also for the Gamecocks, 15 for P.J. Dozier, who shot the ball pretty well, 7 of 15, but he was 0 for 5 at the foul line. 7 boards for Dozier in 32 minutes of action. And the only other player in double figures for the Gamecocks was Chris Silva, who shot 6 of 9, 14 points, 4 boards, 25 minutes of action for Chris Silva. Joe, I think Silva's a ball player, a guy that if he can stay out of foul trouble, he gives the Gamecocks a legit scoring option in the front court. That's something that's been hard to come by. Points in the paint have been hard to come by for South Carolina this year. And the more I watch Chris Silva play, the more I appreciate the things that he does. He's a hustle player, an effort guy, good defender, rebounder, and can really get up off the floor. Joe, I like what I saw from Silva Saturday night, 6 of 9 against Vandy, but not enough for the Gamecocks to get a win.
Yeah, I'm very excited for Silva. There's a guy you've seen from last year to this year. You can tell the work that he's put in. He's a guy that we can honestly give the ball to on the post, and he can get you baskets. And if he can stay out of foul trouble, this team is a very deadly team with him and get some other guys stuff. But when he's in tune and when he's engaged and he's getting the ball and out of foul trouble, he's almost unstoppable in that paint. I think he was able to maintain in the second half and stay out of foul trouble. I think he played the whole second half the other night, but that was a tough loss again, Emerson. But one other key, I think, cost us the other night. We only got 5 points off the bench. And when you go on the road, when you play anybody, you got to get more than 5 points off the bench, and that is very difficult when you got some of your stars not playing as well, and you got the rotation when Silva is in foul trouble. They have the opportunity because Frank rotates these guys in and out because a lot of times throughout the year, PJ, Silva, and all those guys have been in foul trouble. So they have had the opportunity. They got the experience now this late in the year, but they're not stepping up. We got to get some point production off of the bench.
Notice had 7 for the Gamecocks. It was 3 for C.D. Keita and 2 for Hassani Gravett. Mackey played 13 minutes, did not put up a shot, and Rolf Elder played 17 minutes and was 0 for 1 from the floor. So rough night for the Gamecocks Saturday in Nashville. So, Joe, we can turn our attention now to what is going to be a critical stretch run for Gamecock basketball. 4 games left in the regular season before the SEC tournament gets underway, and it starts Tuesday night, tomorrow night, at Florida for the Gamecocks. And this is Gamecock Central Radio. Emerson Phillips with Gamecock great Joe Rhett. We invite you to download the Gamecock Central Radio app. We've got this free phone app that allows you to listen to our podcast for free on your cell phone. The podcasts are free. The app is free. You can find the app on the App Store and on Google Play, and you can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, and other popular services, or just visit radio.GamecockCentral.com. Joe, we got a 7 o'clock tip tomorrow night in Gainesville. Florida's red hot. They've won 8 in a row. They're up to number 13 in the AP poll, the new poll that's out today. And, Joe, we go back several weeks ago. Florida had an 0-2 week. They lost to South Carolina in Columbia, and then they turned around and lost at home to Vanderbilt, and they have not lost since. They've won 8 in a row. That's the longest win streak in head coach Mike White's tenure at Florida. And the Gators, number 13 in the country right now, Joe, and they've been blowing people out. They won 3 games in a row by 30 or more. They're coming off a 5-point win at Mississippi State. And the timeout before that, Joe, just 2 games ago, they dropped 114 points at Auburn. That was Florida's highest scoring game in SEC game in school history. They scored 50 in the first half, 64 in the second half at Auburn, and Canyon Berry, the Florida senior, hit 30 points. He shoots the underhanded foul shots. He made 42 straight foul shots at one point this year. So, Florida had a team meeting. Joe, I heard an interview with Coach White this week. They had a team meeting after they lost to Vanderbilt. That was a Saturday noon game. Coach White gave the team Sunday off, and they got together on Monday, and they had a long team meeting where players and coaches and everybody kind of aired their grievances, and they got everything out in the open, and they decided to get everybody on the same page and get back to rebounding and defending. Joe, that's what Coach White said this week on ESPN. He said they had gotten away from what they do well. So they had this team meeting after they went 0-2 that week, and they have won 8 straight. And right now, they're in the driver's seat to win the SEC because they beat Kentucky a few weeks back, and they'll play at Kentucky on Saturday. Not too many teams right now hotter than the Florida Gators, Joe.
Yes, we certainly talk about Coach Mike White. He's in consideration for probably SEC Coach of the Year at this point right now. With 4 games left, anything can change. But like you said, after that meeting, that team somehow got re-energized. If you think about, you say they scored 100-some points against Auburn. If you saw the South Carolina-Florida game, you would never think that they would score that many points because that was such a defensive battle game between the Gamecocks and the Florida Gators when they first met earlier this year. And you would never think that this team would be able to score that much. But they are one of the hottest teams out there. They're playing very well right now. They're got some guys. They lost a guy. They lost a key to their team, one at the center. I think his name is John Ikebulu, something like that. He has about 7 points, about 6 rebounds. He clogged up that middle. He would be certainly missed because he was a big part of that defensive backside that protect that rim. But, of course, like you said, they still got Canyon Berry, who's been playing pretty well. I think he's leading the team in scoring. And this team is really, really hot. But hopefully, I don't want to downsize the Gamecocks going to Gainesville, but they know they got a big game on Saturday as well. is in playing Kentucky again, the team that they beat early, and we beat Florida early. So hopefully the Florida Gators will be overlooking us tomorrow now that we're not ranked. Maybe they of course thinking about that big, huge matchup. They'll be probably playing for first place on Saturday if they beat us tomorrow night. So hopefully we can go in there, get our groove back on somehow. If we got to have a team meeting, whatever we need to do, somehow we got to get our mojo back. Because this team, I said early in the year, this was a special team. And I hate to see us lose all that momentum, all that we have worked for so much this year. And it's tough right now. I mean, it's a tough week for us. Being 0-2, we haven't lost this many games. We're losing at home, and that's a big thing that concerns me. We're losing games at home, and just the confidence. Like I said earlier, our confidence is just so much shattered right now. But we can get that back. Winning solves everything. We go down to Florida and get a big win tomorrow night, I think we'll be okay.
Joe, you can make the case that the Gamecocks' high water mark this year was when they beat Florida at home several weeks ago. A game that the Gamecocks used their defense to really take Florida out of their brand of ball. The Gamecocks imposed their will on Florida that night, and Florida shot 0 for 17 from 3. It was the first time since 1993 that Florida did not make at least one three-point shot, and the Gamecocks defensively imposed their will on Florida. Since that time, Joe, the Gamecocks have dropped 3 out of 4 now, and we're hearing the team has been tired. Frank Martin said he worked the team too hard in practice a couple weeks ago leading up to the Alabama game, a game that Carolina lost in 4 overtimes, and it seems that on the defensive end is where the Gamecocks have dropped off. The caliber of play, the level of play appears to have dropped off the most on the defensive end. So, Joe, we're getting down to it here. 3 games left after this Florida game in a regular season, and the Gamecocks have got to find a way to regroup. How do they get that defensive intensity back? Because they're going to need it tomorrow night at Florida.
That's a great question. That's the easiest part. Defense shouldn't be a problem for this team. Your defensive philosophy, your defensive schemes. They just have to go out there and do it. Because, for one, we've never been a great offensive team. And a lot early in the year, when our defense was playing good, that's where we got our easy baskets from. We had teams turning the ball over. They had them shooting contested threes where we got out and got some easy baskets. This team is a whole lot different when you got PJ and Senderas getting defensive rebound. Once they get it, the offense is already initiated. So PJ, he gets those rebounds and he pushes, and we get into early offense to get some layups. And we haven't been doing that because our defensive scheme hasn't been as perfect as it has been early in the year. So it starts from defense. We got to get back to that hardcore pressure defense, in your face, denying the ball, taking away their initial sets. We made so many people feel uncomfortable this year. And like you said, the last couple of games, teams seem to have been more comfortable against our defense, whatever reason, scouting report or whatever. They find a little wrinkles themselves to get open shots against us. But as other teams adjust, we have to adjust as well. And I look forward to seeing the changes and whatever we need to do to get this team back rolling.
Yeah, we'll see what Coach Martin has done to mix things up, try to get this Gamecock squad back on track. A real opportunity, I think, here, Joe, for the Gamecocks, to go ahead and solidify their spot in the NCAA tournament. A lot of folks feel like the Gamecocks are in right now, but clearly South Carolina trending in the wrong direction, having lost 3 of the last 4. But if they can beat the Gators in Gainesville and give South Carolina a 2-game sweep over a very highly ranked Florida team, certainly South Carolina feels really good about where it is heading into the final 3 games of the season. And after tomorrow night, the Gamecocks will host Tennessee on Saturday. They'll host Mississippi State midweek next week and wrap up the regular season next weekend at Ole Miss. So we're getting down to it here, Joe. And the Gamecocks, really struggling right now, but still hope and still time to get the job done.
Certainly, the RPI beating Florida tomorrow night would certainly help us in the RPI, help the strength of schedule. And that's a game that, we should have a lot of confidence. We beat them early in the year. So we can jump right back into the mix and the heat of things if we win tomorrow. Are we a lock? I don't think we're locking right now because you see the NCAA committee. They always look at your body of work throughout the year, but they also look, are you hot as well towards the end? So we want to change that trend from losing the last 3 out of 4. We want to try to win at least the next 3 out of 4, our last game. So we got this tough one tomorrow night. We got a couple home games coming up. It's going to be sad to see Senderis in nosebleed and Justin Mackey on senior night. I guess that'll be in a couple of weeks, or next week sometime. But hopefully we can regroup. I believe in this team. Hopefully Senderis doing well is rallying these guys and saying, hey, we don't have this many opportunities. So we got a chance to do something really, really special with this 2016-2017 team. So I hope that they can get this thing back rolling and get in the NCAA and make some noise this year.
All right, I think a lot of Gamecock fans are starting to get a little bit nervous with this recent trend that the Gamecocks have been on here, not shooting the ball well, not defending the way they did early in the year, but a real opportunity for the Gamecocks tomorrow night. Nobody will be picking South Carolina to beat Florida in Gainesville, and if Frank Martin can take this ball club down there and get that done on Tuesday night, the Gamecocks should all but be in the NCAA tournament. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow night, Joe. We'll come back on Friday. We'll preview the Tennessee game. Good stuff today, partner. Thanks for your time.
Anytime, Emerson. Have a good one.
All right, that's Gamecock legend Joe Rhett, and I'm Emerson Phillips, and this is Gamecock Central Radio. We'll come back, talk more Gamecock basketball with you here on Gamecock Central. Thanks for joining us.